Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Spill the D. My name's Gina. I'm one of your hosts, joined here with my handsome co-host, Rick. How you doing?
Doing swell. How about yourself?
I am thriving.
Thriving?
Always. Always thriving.
Why is that? Because you're thinking about your next trip to Disney?
Absolutely, always. Always thriving, always thinking about my next trip to Disney. It's the two states of mind at all times.
That's fair.
Yes. Which, how much longer do we have? Less than 50 days until our next trip. So
coming up.
Get ready for that trip recap episode, everybody.
Coming up quick.
But today, we have an episode that I am worried is going to come out a little negative, but we'll have to see. In the past, we have done blank is not as bad as everybody says. This time we are doing blank is not as good as everybody says at Walt Disney World.
I don't think it'll be that negative.
No, I hope not. I have seen the list. It is listener submitted. We asked the listeners what do they think is not as good as everyone says it is. And I do plan on arguing with some of them.
Okay.
So the plan is we're going to read them off to you guys. We're going to give our opinions. If the listeners send a little bit of a reasoning, we're going to give you their reasoning. And then we're going to give you our opinions on if we think it is as good or not as good as everybody says it is.
Sounds good.
But we have one piece of news before that.
So, our pieces of news for today. Just a few discounts for you. So, you can save up to $200 per night on a 3-night, 2-day room and ticket package at select Disney resort hotels.
As of 2025.
Yes, this is 2025. Sorry, I forgot to say that.
Disney just released some 2025 ticket package discounts. These are it.
Yes. The other ones, save up to 25% on rooms for stays most nights from February 23rd to April 30th, also 2025. And you can save up to 20% on rooms for stays most Sunday to Thursday nights from January 1st to February 20th of 2025.
It's so specific.
Super specific. But if you're staying within those time frames, those are some pretty solid discounts.
They are some pretty solid discounts. And Florida residents and annual pass holders have it even better. Annual pass holder ones I saw went up to like 35%. So
yeah.
But all of these discounts, more information on them, a link to book them with a 407 and Beyond agent can be found on the 407 and Beyond website. If you don't already know, we are the official podcast of 407 and Beyond Vacation Co., which is a Disney and Universal Orlando travel agency that books and plans family vacations to destinations such as Walt Disney World, Universal Orlando, Disney Cruise Line, Royal Caribbean, and so much more. It doesn't cost any extra to book with them. Their services are 100% free. Their travel agents do all of the work so that all you have to do is show up, have fun, and create memories. So you can start getting your free no obligation quotes at 407vacations.com, and you can head on over and see these discounts. If you've already booked with them, just know they probably have already applied these discounts to your vacation if you fall in this window. Yeah. And if you're worried they haven't, just double check with them. They'll make sure to get them added and get you some money back because Disney will let you retroactively add discounts.
Yep.
It's even better when a travel agent's there to do it for you.
Yep. Especially for free.
Especially for free.
But let's get into this negative, not so negative episode.
I think it's going to be a weird in between of the two.
I think so too.
So I have everything sorted. I went through the list. I sorted it out. I narrowed it down to about 13 to 14 things for this episode.
Okay.
I feel like that'll probably take about what our normal episodes are, like roughly 45 minutes. If we're going over, we'll make it 2. If we don't have enough, we'll just end it earlier or make some up. I don't know. So we'll see. But I've narrowed it down thinking this would be a good number. And I made about half of them food because that tended to be a very popular submission was different foods, and the other half are more parks related.
Okay, that's good. Nice mix.
Yes, so we'll go back and forth on them. So we're going to start with number 1. Mickey bars are not as good as everyone says they are, according to our listeners.
I mean, everybody knows where I stand on this one. I completely disagree. I think they're fantastic.
I actually pretty much agree with this one. I'm not a huge vanilla ice cream person, though. But they are just like a Klondike bar and a stick, and I think it's the price that kind of kills them.
See, in my mind, we're taking price out of the equation.
No, I feel like that has to be included.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
If we're talking about like how good it is, like in your brain, if how satisfied you are after, your brain takes into consideration the price when you're deciding if it was satisfying or not.
Overall, yeah.
Yeah.
Like but I was thinking just flavor-wise.
If you go on a vacation that you got for dirt cheap and you have a mediocre time, you're still going to think it's more fun than if you had a mediocre time on a super expensive vacation.
Yeah,
you know what
right.
I mean? So if we're going with that logic, a Mickey ice cream bar, I swear they've gotten smaller in recent years.
They might have gotten smaller. I think they taste fantastic though, and I like that they come on a stick.
That's fair. Everything's better on a stick. I'll give you that one, Landis. But I personally do think that there are better ice cream options. Also, in my brain, I like to go get a sundae. It's almost the same price.
Yeah, but I think it's a good option for people who aren't as into sweets. Because it gets you just enough.
Aren't they dark chocolate too?
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I don't like them too. I'm
It
a
might
milk
be.
chocolate person.
Yeah.
All right, next one. And just so everybody knows, it's going to be me reading a lot of them because Rick wanted to be surprised by most of the list.
Mm-hmm.
He did submit some for the list, but he doesn't know. So a lot of these are Rick's blind reactions to what you guys think are not as good as everyone says. For instance, funny enough, this was submitted by listeners. It was also submitted by Rick. Epcot is not as good as everyone says.
I agree.
State your case.
I don't think it's bad, and I feel like I've reiterated this a handful of times on the podcast that I don't think it's bad. I just don't think it's as good as everyone says it is. Like, I'll go there and I'll have a good time, but I would prefer to go to any of the other 3 parks before I would go to Epcot. And I know there's so many people that Epcot is their number one, and that's their, if I'm going to Disney, I'm going to Epcot. If that makes sense.
Like that's how other people feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just don't agree with that. I don't think that Epcot is the best park.
I completely agree with you. I don't fully understand the hype. Like the festivals are very fun and they're a great time. And it could be because I'm so cheap. But I just think about how much money I'm spending after paying all the money to get in there. But I feel the same way as you. I do like Epcot.
Mm-hmm.
It's just if I'm ranking the 4 parks, it's my number 4.
Yeah.
If I can only go to 3 parks that trip, it's the one that I'm most okay with cutting.
Yeah.
But also, if I'm going with a group of people and they want to go to Epcot, cool, let's go to Epcot. Like, I'm fine with going either way. But if I'm comparing it to the other parks, it is my number 4. Mm-hmm. And I do agree that everyone really, really hypes it up. And, like, it's getting better. And now that the construction is kind of coming to a close, it definitely is improving, but it's still like
I still don't think
I'm still
where some people portray it at.
Yeah, people put it real high.
Yeah, they put it on like a pedestal, and I just disagree.
Do you want to know my hot take?
Yeah, let's hear it.
So Spaceship Earth, people always call it like the prettiest girl in school and like talk about how pretty it is. Mm. Of the 4 park icons, I think it's the least pretty. Like, I know that's, like, the most niche Disney adult thing I probably could have said right now. But I'm serious. The castle, so much prettier.
Yeah.
Tree of Life, gorgeous. And Tower of Terror just makes me happy. Tower of Terror has personality. And, like, sometimes your personality makes you a little bit more attractive.
Yeah.
I just don't think... Maybe it's prettier than Tower of Terror. It was not prettier than the Sorcerer Hat, though.
Yeah, I think it's probably prettier than Tower, but Tower makes you happier.
Yes. Yeah, probably. That's probably what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I think so.
But that's my hot take when people are like, prettiest girl in school. It's me. I've said it. But she's not.
Yeah. She's just the popular one.
She's just popular.
She's not pretty. She's just popular.
Her personality's meh. That's my hot take on Spaceship Earth.
No offense to anybody whose favorite park is Epcot. You do you.
Again, there's no issue with it. I like Epcot. I thoroughly enjoy the festivals. I like going. Guardians of the Galaxy, one of the best rides Disney has ever made.
Yeah.
And that's in Epcot. I just, like I said, if I'm ranking the parks, it is my number 4. And there's probably so many people who have turned this podcast off right now. So for all of you who stayed, thank you. And if you completely disagree with us and completely disagree with Rick, make sure to take it out on him because everyone always does.
I'll take it. At this point, I've taken it all anyway.
I think it's so funny because I've said it maybe like if Rick says it 5 times, I probably have said it 4. Mm-hmm. And everyone's like, Rick hates Epcot. Like everyone forgets that I say it. And I think it's so I just lean in. I'm like, yeah, Rick hates it. I don't know.
It's whatever. Someone's got to be the bad guy.
But just to clarify, neither of us hate Epcot.
Yeah.
It's just number 4 out of 4.
4 out of 5.
Are you putting what?
Water parks.
There's 2 water parks.
Well, okay, 4 to 6.
Only 1 open at a time.
Yeah.
You like it better than the water parks?
I don't know, because I'm a big water park person, but like they're just so crowded all the time. It's hard to
Interesting.
enjoy them. Like, if I could have an empty water park to myself.
Do you just mean water parks as a whole? Like,
Yeah.
anywhere in the world?
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, I've never really had that experience with Disney being too bad. But that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, next one. This one was submitted by a few people. Spring rolls are not as good as everyone says they are.
If you're taking price into account, which we've determined we are, then I guess this is accurate.
For anyone who doesn't know, these spring rolls are at a cart in Magic Kingdom. They usually have cheeseburger, pizza. They'll change pastrami sometimes. They'll change them out. Corned beef, I think they had at one point, or something weird like that.
That's a weird one.
Something like that. Maybe I just totally made that up. I don't know. But they'll usually try and switch them out occasionally. And I do want to read word for word what someone said. They said, cheeseburger spring rolls, beyond overrated, overpriced, overgreased.
Overgreased, I agree with. Overpriced, I agree with.
Overgreased is actually where I'm going to agree on the spring rolls. The cheeseburger one is so greasy. And the pizza one, the
pizza
pepperoni,
one is so greasy, yeah.
It just pours off
I don't think I've had a non-greasy spring roll, so I agree completely on the greasy part. And the overpriced part I also agree with, because they are, unfortunately, incredibly overpriced for what you get. But
see, I used to agree that they were overpriced. And then the more I thought about like food in Disney, if I was at Food and Wine Festival, I would pay like $5 to $6 for one fancy spring roll at a booth. It's like $9 for two, or $10 for two, whatever they're up to now.
I don't think it's $9.
Maybe they're 10 or 11 for two, like whatever they're up to. You get two, and they are meat. I paid like the same for ice cream and Dole Whip and things like that. So like, are they overpriced compared to other foods in Disney?
I don't.
When you think about it like that, like you're paying for meat and you're paying for two things. And if you were to compare it to Food and Wine Festival, where you get like sample sizes of things, that's about what you'd pay for one.
Yeah, they're not that big though. I don't think
they're decent size. They're like an egg roll size. They're not a spring roll size. Usually spring rolls are really small.
Yeah.
They're more of an egg roll size.
Yeah. I don't know. I agree. I think they're overrated in the sense that
they're definitely overgreased.
They're overgreased and a little bit overpriced in my opinion. Because you're saying in comparison to Epcot and Food and Wine Festival and all this stuff, but that's not saying that stuff's not also overpriced.
That's true. No, that's definitely true. But I'm thinking like grand scheme of Disney.
Yeah.
Because before I wouldn't get them because I felt like they were overpriced. But then I realized that I was basically spending the same thing for half of a portion somewhere else. And I was like, why aren't I getting these if I want them?
Yeah, I guess if you want them. But I'm just like, if I'm hungry and I want something that's going to fill me, I'm going to go to Casey's and get a footlong hot dog for $3 more than I'm.
That's fair. But I would also sit here and say that Casey's is one of the best deals in Disney.
Yeah.
So, like, that's a hard comparison.
That's fair.
But I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
But I would say that Casey's is one of the best deals for the amount of food you get.
I agree.
So, that's hard. That is hard. So, what's our answer? Are we agreeing with with the people who sent this one in, or no?
I agree.
Okay, I think that I'm going to keep playing devil's advocate and not answer. Can I do that?
I don't think so. Okay.
I don't think so.
You can do whatever you want.
Okay, then I'm going to go with that I disagree. I like the variety.
Okay.
I'm going to disagree, but I will say they're overgreased. Way too greasy. They got to get that grease
Especially
under
the
control.
pizza.
Especially the pizza. They got to get that pepperoni grease under control.
Yeah.
Come on. All right, next one. This one breaks my heart. Somebody thinks that Jungle Cruise is not as good as everybody says it is.
First of all, I think I hear more people say that they don't like Jungle Cruise than I do like Jungle Cruise.
I've never heard someone say that.
Like that they think it's overrated. I think I've heard more people say it's overrated than that it's one of their favorite rides, kind of thing. I disagree. I think Jungle Cruise is as good as people say it is. But I also have a very, I don't even know what word to use.
Cheesy.
Yeah, cheesy sense of humor, I guess.
I disagree with this. I think that it is as good as everyone says it is. I think that for people who go to Disney all the time, I could see how it would get old for people if it's not your sense of humor. It is my sense of humor, so it doesn't get old for me. If you're listening to this podcast because you've never been to Disney and you want to hear like maybe some tips and tricks and things like that, I'm going to say you should still go on Jungle Cruise. Because if you've never heard the jokes, you're going to find the jokes funny.
I agree. As long as you get the right skipper.
and have a good sense of humor.
Yeah.
If you like dad jokes, you're gonna like Jungle Cruise.
Yeah.
If you don't like dad jokes, you're gonna hate it.
There are also skippers that are just way better than other ones, though.
Oh, absolutely. Their
So,
delivery makes a difference.
There's a chance that whoever wrote this just didn't get a great skipper.
Yeah, there's
Because
also
I've
a
had
chance-
skippers like my 20th time riding this ride where I cracked up more than the second time that I rode the ride. You know what I mean? Just because like their delivery and that kind of stuff like can be better from person to person. So
Yeah, no, that's definitely true. And like sometimes they throw in a little bit of their own jokes, which makes it pretty funny too.
Yeah.
Especially when you get later in the night.
yeah.
So yeah, I agree.
My favorite is the "I love you" one.
When they're trying to ward off the hippos. Yeah.
I don't want to give too much away in case someone gets it, but the "I love you" joke is one of my favorites.
Not to be really basic, but I love the backside of water.
I like when the chant starts.
O2H. O2H. I'm wearing an H2O shirt.
Nice.
Yeah, sorry guys, I'm disagreeing with this one. I think Jungle Cruise is just as good as everyone says it is.
Yeah, I agree. I like it.
It's so good. And it's a must-do if you've never done it. I can see how it gets old,
Yeah.
but also it's never gotten old for me. All right, next one, we're going back to food. We'll stay in the same area.
Okay.
Dole Whip is not as good as everyone says it is.
I'm gonna have to agree with this one. Not again. It's the same. It's the same as Epcot. The Epcot situation. It's not because it's bad. It's because it's overhyped. Like I do enjoy Dole Whip. My favorite is the pineapple upside down Dole Whip.
It's on a pineapple upside down
It's on a
cake.
pineapple upside down cake. It's fantastic. But the fact that there's so much merch based around it, it's one of the things that if you ask anybody giving you tips on your first time going to Disney World, they'll probably tell you to go get Dole Whip. Like, I think it's just overhyped as opposed to not good.
I agree with that. I'm not gonna lie, the pineapple Dole Whip is not my favorite. I do like it on the pineapple upside down cake, I think, because it kind of like adds a little something
Yeah.
to it. But the amount of Dole Whip options that there are does make it very fun. You can buy Dole Whip other places now. Like you go to the Wildwood Boardwalk, like
Yeah.
while you're down the shore, you can get
Yeah.
Dole Whip. But so that kind of takes away from like the
Exclusivity.
yes that there used to be with it. Even when you get it, and like if you go down the shore, it says like no, not Disney. Like that, like it'll have like something like that written on it because they're trying to pull people in.
Yeah.
But you can get it other places now. Where for years I feel like it wasn't other places, and that was where a lot of the hype came from, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
But all of the other flavor options do make it very desirable. Because there's an option for everybody.
Yeah.
So are you saying that you're going with it's not as good as everyone says it is? Or,
Yeah.
Okay, I think I might go with it is as good because of the variety of options.
Okay.
But if we're going basic pineapple Dole Whip, like flavor-wise, no, it's not as good as everyone says. It's just a fancy ice cream, frozen yogurt, fruit thing.
Yeah, I'd rather have, and this is going to be a really hot take for a lot of people, I'd rather just have vanilla soft serve than Dole Whip most of the time.
I like getting them swirled.
That's fair.
I think that's delicious.
I like the raspberry one swirled.
Ooh, like raspberry and pineapple one when they do that, or the
Yeah.
raspberry with the vanilla.
Either one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I like the orange swirled.
Yeah.
That one's a good one.
But most of the time I would rather just have vanilla soft serve ice cream.
Interesting.
Hot
You
take.
know, you could probably get that on top of the pineapple upside down if you wanted.
Probably could. I don't really get it at all though, so I
fair.
can't tell you the last time I actually got Dole Whip because I don't crave sweets like that. So
Fair. Sometimes it's just so nice on a hot day.
Yeah.
But also, I love a good icy on a hot day, so.
yeah,
Okay. Next one. Food and Wine Festival is not as good as everyone says it is, according to our listeners.
this is a tough one.
For me, this falls in the same category as when we talked about Epcot. Food and Wine Festival is fun. It's great. It's a great thing to go to, especially if you've never been to it. But if you've been to it before, it recently has not changed much year to year.
Yeah,
And if we're comparing it to all of the other festivals, I do think that it's not the best festival. The food options, yes. Way more food options than other festivals, way more drink options. At least it feels like that.
Mhm.
But the other festivals have so much more going on with them. If you go to Festival of the Arts, they have all of the art around it. They're selling art. There's live art. You could be a part of the art. The
Yeah.
food is art. Like, it's everything. If you go to Festival of the Holidays, you get to experience the holidays around the world. And there's live performers and things like that. If you go to Flower and Garden Festival, I'm not a flower person, and even that, there's so much to do as far as the flowers go. There's butterfly exhibits and things like that you can walk through that Food and Wine just doesn't have anymore. They used to have like live demonstrations from celebrity chefs, and they stopped that. So like, if they brought those back, it might change my opinion. But right now, it's just Food and Wine booths. So I'm going to go with, it's not as good as everyone says it, because the other options, if you want to go to a festival, are better. That
was my exact reasoning, that for the same reason that I agree that it's overrated, is it's just Food and Wine booths. It's not, to me, it's not a festival as much as it's just they set up some extra booths with food and wine.
Yeah, I agree.
So
where the other one's really like, you feel like you're in a whole festival, almost as if you're at like a local park and there's a big festival going.
Like Flower and Garden, everywhere you turn, there's a new, different topiary of a different Disney character. Like they just, I feel like they go more all in on the other festivals than they do on Food and Wine. And I think, I don't want to say lazy, but I think they've gotten a little bit lackadaisical with Food and Wine because of how popular it is, that they feel like they don't need to progress and improve on it.
They don't need to bring in the celebrity chefs anymore because people are just as happy just eating and drinking.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas the other festivals, it's like, not everyone's probably as into flowers as they are just going and having food and wine. So we have to up the ante a little bit and make it amazing somehow.
Is lackadaisical, is lazy just short for lackadaisical?
It might be.
Did you just say, I don't want to say lazy, but they're very lackadaisical?
Trying to find the words to describe this girl without being disrespectful.
No, I completely agree though. So I'm gonna agree with this person that Food and Wine Festival, not as good as everyone says it is.
I agree. Not as good.
Okay, now we're gonna go to a restaurant.
Ooh.
Hollywood Brown Derby is not as good as everyone says it is.
I agree. I didn't enjoy it that much when we were there.
I also agree.
And that's saying something, because you had really high expectations for that.
I did, and I thought it was good. I didn't think it was 2 meal credits good.
Yeah.
If you're going and using the dining plan, it costs 2 meal credits to eat there.
Not worth that.
And it's definitely not worth that. And it just reminded me of a restaurant around here.
Yeah. Like the food was like not that much different than a regular restaurant.
Yeah, it was good, but it wasn't like...
They had like a burger, they had a salad, they had chicken. Like it wasn't anything...
Had steak, they had the Cobb salad, which they're famous for, which the one in Hollywood is also famous for.
Yeah.
Like, they had good options, but I just didn't think it was as good as like everyone makes it out to be, and I didn't think it was good enough for Disney to charge 2 dining credits for it. It wasn't anything crazy, nothing to write home about.
No, it tasted fine. It tasted fine. It was good food, but 2 credits is a lot. If you're not using meal credits, it's a lot of money to spend on food, because you obviously still have to spend the cash if you don't have the dining credits, and I wouldn't go pay cash for that restaurant.
My thing is, I don't have a hankering to go back. So
I haven't had any craving to go back there since we went.
Like you leave restaurants in Disney and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to go back to this. Or when someone tells you that they're going on vacation, they're asking where they should eat, you're like, that's the first one that comes to your mind. Hollywood Brown Derby never comes to my mind as even being an option. And I have not had like that urge to go back to it since we went. So I'm going to agree. It's not as good as everyone, including Disney, says it is.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, if someone were to tell me that they were going to Disneyland Paris right now, I would say, you have to go to the Ratatouille restaurant.
Yes.
Because it was fantastic. If someone were to tell me they were going to Walt Disney World right now, I would not tell them that they have to go to Hollywood Brown Derby.
No, I agree.
There's so many. I would tell them they have to go to Roundup Rodeo. Okay. Or something like that. You know what I mean?
Same park, too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's in the same park. I'd rather go to Roundup Rodeo than I would rather go to Brown Derby.
Yeah.
It would just not be my first recommendation to people. So I agree that it's not as good as everyone says it is.
No, it also like it is a little bit higher end and like more of a sophisticated restaurant in the park, which is harder to find when you're in a park. But also Hollywood Studios is like, it's almost Skyliner. You can go right to the Riviera and get that if that's what you're looking for. Or I don't.
And you said they're famous for their Cobb salad.
They
Was
are.
it that much different than a regular Cobb salad?
I actually thought it was a little overrated of a Cobb salad. Cobb salads are my favorite salad.
Yeah.
And I got it, and it was good. It was definitely good. It wasn't like anything crazy. I wasn't like crazy impressed with it. It came with, I believe, turkey chopped up on it, but then you could add like chicken or shrimp or something, which I thought was kind of strange. But it was good.
Mhm.
I don't have a craving to go back for it, so it was good. It was fine. The decorations were cool. They had like celebrity caricatures.
Yeah.
Which was fun. Yeah, it's not as good as everyone says it is. I'm with you.
Overrated.
Okay, next one. We have... This listener says that Guardians of the Galaxy is not as good as everyone says it is. Go ahead.
My first instinct was wrong. But I know that we have to have a bit of a discussion. So I would like, did they give a reasoning as to why they think it's not as good?
No.
If you said that Guardians was not as good, please reach out to us and let us know why it's not as good, because I'm curious. I like the music. I like the coaster itself. I like the story of the coaster, like how they have the story bit. I can't really see a reason why it's overrated.
I will say, the first time we rode it, we ended up in the middle. I was in the middle, and then the second seat of the car I was in, I think, the second seat. But we rode it, and I got off, and I was like, that was fun. But I wasn't like, oh my gosh, that was so much fun. And then we rode it again that day, and we were in the back row, and I was in the front seat, so I was seat number 9.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, this is one of the best rides Disney's ever made. So I do think your seat makes a difference on that one. Like, being in the front seat of your car makes a difference because it turns you, if you haven't ridden it, it turns you to look at things.
Yeah.
So to see the story, like Rick is saying, it is helpful to be in that front seat. And then the way that I got whipped around in the back. And then the song you get also makes a difference. I think we got a better song the second time. So I kind of get what you're saying. But I still disagree. I think it is as good as everyone says it is, especially if you're a Guardians of the Galaxy fan.
Yeah. If you're not a Guardians of the Galaxy fan, I can see why it might be not that great to you. Like, you might not feel like you need to go back again. But if you're anywhere in the middle and you enjoy music from the 90s, I think it is.
80s.
It's 80s, 90s music. Then I think it's 100% worth it. And I don't think it's overrated.
I do think they do a good job of making you understand it without needing to be a Guardians of the Galaxy fan.
I think if you're in the queue, it helps.
Yes, but like
If
as
you
far as
skip
the
the
ride
queue.
goes, you do get what's happening
Kind of.
to a point.
I do get to an extent that you have to be a little bit into Marvel
Yeah.
to understand it, because they have the Celestials, which are like kind of out there if you've never seen the Eternals.
Imagine being like, what is Terry Crews doing here? Update. No one knows. He's not in the movies.
So I guess to some extent I could see, depending on your situation, but I disagree. I think it's properly rated.
Okay. Another food, another restaurant. Which one do you want first?
Let's go restaurant.
Chef Mickey's is not as good as everyone says it is.
I have to agree. It's fun for the character part, but there's other character dining I would rather do. The food is average. It's like just normal. Like if I were to go to a buffet in the area, it probably would have the same, if not better, food, I think.
Yeah, probably.
But it is nice. It is nice to have the characters going around and stuff. Like it's a fun time. They make it fun, but the food's average.
Okay, here's why I disagree. I don't think anyone says it's good. When it comes to the food, I don't think anyone has ever lied and said that it was like a crazy good
The
meal.
best food they ever had at
I
Disney.
think when people talk about it, they're talking about the vibes. And I do think that the vibes at the restaurant are as good as everyone says they are.
Yeah.
It's an upbeat dining experience. The characters are coming around. Your kid's happy for the most part, usually. You're happy sitting there.
You're eating buffet style?
You're eating buffet style. I think that if we're talking vibes, it is as good as everyone says it is. If we're talking food, No one says it's good. I have never heard someone leave Chef Mickey's and say, "Oh my gosh, it's the best meal I've ever had."
That's fair.
When people tell people to go to it, they're telling them to go to it for the characters. They're not telling them to go to it for the food. And yes, there are better character meals. There's not many character meals outside the parks. There are
Yeah.
some. There's not many. Topolino's is another breakfast that is better.
Mm.
But breakfast, lunch, and dinner at Chef Mickey's is going to be characters.
Yeah.
It's right next to a park. And yeah, no, I'm going to disagree only because I've never heard anyone say it's good. I've heard people say the vibes are good, and I do agree with that. So I'm going to say that it is as good as everyone says it is because no one's talking about the food.
That makes sense. I can agree with that.
Thank you, thank you. As you were talking, I'm like, hold on. Never heard someone say that. And honestly, I'm not going to lie to you, I didn't mind the food. It kind of reminded me of back when Old Country Buffet was open. That, like, fake country mac and cheese
Yeah,
and like
I mean,
the chicken nugget, the corn dog nuggets that you can get in the park. They're also there. Like, it's good, just like
good junk.
good junk food. Yeah, they have a carving station. That's always good too.
Yeah.
So it is good junk food, and it's a fun way to start your vacation too. If you're not having a park day, it's a fun way to get it going
right away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I like it for dinner. Or yeah. But that's my theory on it.
Okay.
All right, let's go to a resort.
Ooh.
Somebody has said that Grand Floridian is not as good as everyone says it is.
I feel like I'm walking on eggshells in Grand Floridian, which I feel like just doesn't match the vibes of Disney. Like, like to me, Disney is like everyone's welcome. Like, come have fun, and Grand Floridian is like you don't belong here.
Get out.
Like that's just the vibe that I get from Grand Floridian. So I have to agree. I think it's overrated in the sense that it doesn't fit. And I know so many people are like, oh, it's so nice. It's such a nice hotel. Yeah, it's nice. But to me, I'd rather stay at plenty of other locations on property.
It's Fantasyland. When you're saying it doesn't fit, it's Fantasyland. The Polynesian is Adventureland, and the Contemporary is Tomorrowland.
No, I get that. That it fits in that aspect, but I mean, it doesn't fit in the sense that everyone's welcome here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a super exclusive hotel. Like you have to
Which
spend
is funny.
hundreds of dollars a night to stay there, where you can spend $100 and stay at the All Stars.
The funny part is, I think the guests have labeled it as exclusive. At no point has Disney made
No.
And like honestly, there's some nights like the Polynesian costs more than the Grand Floridian, but like it's just the vibes of the Polynesian are more like welcoming, aloha.
And Grand Floridian is just very uppity.
Yes.
They have a spa. They have a very nice bar that doesn't have very friendly staff.
We had a bad experience at Enchanted Rose. We had a good experience the next time.
Yeah. No, it was fine. It wasn't bad. But I don't know. It's like for those that golf, if you've ever been on a private golf course, how you feel like you just don't belong there. That's how it feels walking into the Grand Floridian when you're at Disney. You just feel like you don't belong there.
I'm gonna have to say that I do think it's as good as everyone says it is, because it is an extremely nice hotel, and for it to make you feel like you don't belong just proves how nice it is.
That's fair.
Yeah.
No, I get that. I just not what I want out of Disney.
No, I get what you're saying,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna go with this logic.
Okay.
It's so funny though. I have had that feeling. I've also had that feeling of I'm gonna say that I fit in here, and I walk around with my chin up.
See, I just know that I don't fit in there.
Just fake it till you make it.
Not how that works.
That's how life works. It's called flying by the seat of your pants. All right, we got one more food item.
Okay.
Tachos are not as good as everyone says they are.
Who hurt you?
This one, they did say it's basic chili and tots. Reliable, but there are better park must-haves.
I feel like this goes back to the Epcot conversation. They basically just said it. It's not bad. It's good, but
It's
there's
good.
better options.
It's good.
Is good.
I don't know. I really like the tachos.
I do enjoy the tachos. I'm saying from the perspective of their argument, though.
Yeah.
If we're staying consistent with the way that we've been talking this episode, it's good. It's just not the best, which can still mean that it's not overrated.
So tachos used to be my favorite thing to get at Woody's lunchbox, and then all of a sudden one day my brain just said, "Get the brisket instead," and now that's my favorite thing to
The
get at
brisket
Woody's
is amazing.
lunchbox. But the tachos still sometimes beat the brisket in my brain. I do find them delicious. They're loaded and they are so good, and they're all I wanted after the half marathon.
And you got
And I got them, and a diamond ring.
them.
But I am going to disagree with this person. I think tachos are amazing. I think I wouldn't label them as a park must-have. It's not going to ruin your vacation
Yeah.
if you don't have them. But if you're going to Woody's Lunchbox, they are a solid choice and something that I would recommend to someone who is going, who asked me for recommendations, which is why they are going on my "they're as good as everyone says" list.
That makes sense to me, yeah.
Thank you. What's your opinion?
I agree. I don't think they're overrated. They're reliable. They do taste good. They're not my go-to, but I'll still eat them.
Do you think they're as good as I say they are? Think about it like that. I'm everyone. Are they as good as I say they are?
I think they are.
Okay.
Again, not my first choice, but they're good.
Okay.
It's just because I'm not always in the mood for tachos.
Always good for tachos.
Like personally, I really like the turkey sandwich at Woody's Lunchbox.
They do have a good turkey sandwich.
Like that's my go-to
They just
at Woody's
have great
Lunchbox.
food there.
So I don't get the tachos often, but that's just because I'd rather have the turkey sandwich.
People also, I found out we played Hot or Not on the Instagram story the other day, and somebody said the root beer float, and so many people voted for not. They broke my heart. That root beer float from Woody's Lunchbox is amazing. I just love a good root beer float. So.
Yeah, that's true.
But still, it was amazing, and more people voted for not than hot. And I was like, "What the heck?"
What is wrong with you people?
Unless they were trying to make a joke at like, "No, I don't like it hot," but like, which in that case, you guys are hilarious. But if that's not what you meant, then what the heck? All right, on to the next one. So this is a ride.
Okay.
One of our listeners said that Rise of the Resistance is not as good as everyone says it is. And they clarified, as a non-Star Wars fan, it's meh.
We've talked about this before on the podcast. Millennium Falcon is better for non-Star Wars fans.
Yeah, I would say as a non-Star Wars fan, Millennium Falcon is made for people who don't know Star Wars. Rise of the Resistance is made for people who know Star Wars.
I will say this. Rise of the Resistance is as good as everyone says it is when they're talking about the design of the ride itself. So, for example, the room full of stormtroopers, the giant people are gonna hate on me.
Robot dogs,
the giant robot dog things that they have, like how big they are. The scene with what's his name stabbing his lightsaber through the ceiling, like stuff like that, make the ride as good as everyone says it is.
The technology behind the ride is as good as everyone says it is. The
ride itself, the story can follow, but it's kind of tough to follow as a non-Star Wars person. Like, you get the basic gist of it, but you don't understand the characters, and you don't really understand everything that's going on as a non-Star Wars person. And like I said, Millennium Falcon is just better for non-Star Wars people because you're interacting with the ride.
Yeah, you don't have to fully understand the movies to understand that ride. I would say I'm actually going to disagree with this person. As much as I do agree that Millennium Falcon is better than Rise of the Resistance, it's better for non-Star Wars fans. If, like you said, if we're thinking of the ride as a whole, it's a really cool ride.
Yeah.
And me not understanding Star Wars isn't enough of a reason for me to say that it's not as good as everyone says it is, because if you are a Star Wars fan, it is as good as everyone says it is. It is a good ride. I was working for Disney when it came out, and I just remember the uproar from guests when they'd come back to the hotel, and I'd ask them, they say they went to Hollywood Studios, and I'd ask them about it, and they would all just talk to me so excited, and they'd be so happy to tell me about it. And to me, that's definitely shows how good of a ride it is.
Okay.
The way that these guests would just talk about it with like pure joy on their face. Like, I'd have like families like talking over each other trying to tell me about this ride that I hadn't gotten to ride yet because we were blocked out. So I'd be like, tell me everything. And they would just start screaming Star Wars terms at me and tell me about the ride. And like, that level of excitement can't be beat. Like, that's what you're looking for. That's what Disney's going for. That's what you want to see. And yeah, that to me means it's a good ride.
That's fair.
And that was a bunch of people riding it for the first time. Repeatability, I can't talk on. For me, repeatability, I can still say that I think it's good.
Yeah.
I just don't need to repeat it because I don't know Star Wars. That's my take on it.
Yeah. I think the coolest part of the ride is the room full of stormtroopers.
during the queue.
Yeah.
That's fair. One day I'm waiting for one to move. Just come at me. Be really funny.
Yeah.
All right, we got 2 more. We have 1 ride and 1 show. Which would you like first?
Let's hear show.
Okay. Now this one I am going to argue with really hard because it was sent in by my brother.
Okay.
So I feel like that means that I can argue it a little bit harder.
It's not the Lion King show, is it?
It is the Lion King show.
What?
So he said the Festival of the Lion King is good, but not going out of my way for it. The first time that they got to see this show, we recommended it so hard for my brother and my sister-in-law to go to this show. And they went and they saw it. And for some reason, which they didn't know at the time, they weren't doing the full show. They weren't doing all of the acrobatics and everything. So they really just saw the music. So it gave them this terrible taste for the show.
Yeah.
And I think that they have gone back since and seen it and still just thought meh. But I think sometimes once you have that like terrible taste in your mouth, like it can't be got, like you just can't get rid of it. So I'm completely arguing with this one. I think that it's one of the best shows at Walt Disney World, whether you're a Lion King fan or not. I think it's worth seeing. The acrobatics are amazing. The way that they interact with the crowd, the way that they interact with the kids, like how kids get to be a part of the show. The Tumble Monkeys are one of the coolest things that Disney has as far as shows go, I think. As far as like live performers, I think what they do is amazing. So I'm going to go with the fact that it is as good as everyone says it is. I think it is so worth seeing, and I highly recommend it to anybody going to Disney for the first time.
Yeah, I don't want to like overhype it for people, but I am having trouble thinking of a show that I would rather go see in Disney World. Well, besides like Fantasmic or Happily Ever After, like stuff the nighttime shows, excluding those, I'm having a hard time thinking of one that I would rather go see. Yeah,
like Animal Kingdom has a good amount of shows. They have that. They have the Finding Nemo show. It's like Finding Nemo and the Great Blue Beyond, or whatever it's called. Yeah. They changed the name of it recently. Yeah. And then they have the Feathered Birds in Flight, and then they just have live entertainment everywhere. Mm-hmm. And of all of the entertainment that they offer, I think that this show is the best of all of it.
Well, the Finding Nemo one is a snooze fest, so.
Well, it's a little better now that they updated it. They made it a lot better. Definitely better now. But yeah, no, I'm going to completely disagree with this one. I know why you have this argument, and I'm sure there are other people who have had similar experiences, but from my experience, from all the times I've seen the show, it has always been phenomenal.
Yes.
Also, my first time seeing it, or one of my first times.
We had a fantastic first experience.
I said my first, and then I realized I went with my family when I was younger. Yeah. But when we went as adults with our friends, like we got front row, we got picked to be in the front, and then like one of us got picked to be in the show. Like it was just we got to meet the cast after because we were dancing. So they were like, "You guys want to come meet the cast?" And we said yes. Like we just had a crazy good experience. So I think that might be also the other end of the spectrum where I have this great memory, he has this terrible memory.
Yeah.
So. That's how I feel. I'm very passionate about that one.
That's fair. It's a good show.
It's a family dinner fight. All right, and the last one. And this one was submitted by Rick. Go ahead, you can say it.
I don't think Space Mountain is as good as everybody says it is.
Tell me why.
It's just a dark roller coaster. There's nothing special about it.
I think you're so wrong. I do. I think that near-death experience when you put your hands up and you don't know if they're going to get chopped off.
Okay, first of all, I'm never putting my hands up on that ride. It's way too dark.
I put my hands up the entire time, and I love that adrenaline rush. If am I going to lose a finger, I'll never know. I've never lost one.
Second of all.
Still got 10 strong.
I think Rock and Roller Coaster is a better in the dark roller coaster.
That's fair, but if I'm just talking about space as a standalone thing, I think it's as good as everyone says it is. I love when they do the overlays at Christmas and Halloween.
See, I haven't seen the overlays.
Not yet. You will. We'll be doing the Very Merry Christmas Party. No, you did that.
I've seen the Halloween one.
Yeah, you did the Halloween, and we have the Christmas party in a few months.
Yeah.
So, but the Halloween one, what'd you think?
But you talk up the Christmas one all the time.
Yeah, because it's like, they changed the stars to red and green, and it's basically just getting to ride Space Mountain, but to the soundtrack of the Trans-Siberian Orchestra. What's that song?
Yeah, I don't know what it's called. Carol of the Bells or something?
Yeah. Like, it's so good. And, like, your heart rate is through the roof, and that's, like, my ideal roller coaster vibe.
The Halloween one is okay. Not the biggest fan, but...
Pitch black.
Yeah.
I like it. I'm a fan.
I don't know. Let me say this: the Space Mountain in California was better,
Interesting.
and I think it was because there was someone next to me.
So all that I'm hearing from this is that you're afraid of the dark, and having someone there to hold your hand made you feel
Yes,
safer.
if I had a nightlight, it would make it so much better.
We'll get you a headlamp. We'll get you a headlamp.
No, I don't
next
know.
Time.
I don't know. Like, I'm not a huge fan of the single seat roller coasters anyway. Like, I like to have someone next to me enjoying the ride with me. Like, I didn't like the bobsleds.
Yeah.
That wasn't a dark ride. Just didn't like it, and I think most of the reason was because I was single file. I didn't have anyone to enjoy it with.
Yeah. No, I get it.
So.
I still disagree, but I get it.
No, that's fine. You're allowed to disagree.
Yeah.
But
I think front seat and the back seat are the best. The middle seats don't have as much oomph to them.
Makes sense.
But front and back, it's a good one. My back has gone full cracking in the back seat. You just let your body go limp.
But yeah, I just don't think it's as good as everyone says it is.
Okay, I do.
I don't need to wait for it.
I sort of agree with that. It might be because of how dark the queue is, but like I don't like waiting for it. More than like 30 minutes, and I'm like, I'll come back. Although I do feel that way about most rides, so that's a hard statement to live by.
Mm-hmm.
That's all of them, though. We went through them all. That's how I narrowed the list down. So that's what everyone says is not as good as everyone says it is. If you have something you want to add to this, feel free to message us. You can message us on social media at Twility Podcast on Instagram, at Twility Pod on TikTok. You can email us, twilitypod@gmail.com. Let us know what you think. Let us know if you think we were right or wrong with some of these. Give us your opinion or send us in more that you think are not as good as everyone says it is. We still had a few left over we didn't get to hit. So we'll be sure to add yours to the list for the next episode. We can make it a part 2.
Yeah. But that's all we have for you guys this week. So until next time, we will
see you at the castle.